pull the dipstick out and we'll check that.
Up to that full line.
Okay, that's good. Now, this is another time there's moving parts in here that's good to lubricate with a spray lubricant. So you might take some of our PensGuard spray there, spray the throttle linkages, any moving parts on the door hinges. Okay, let's get ready to check it out now. If you'll take the oil bottle out, put the lid back on. Now we need to have you start the engine up, check for the oil pressure, and then we'll let it idle for a couple minutes and come out and check for leaks. Okay. So if you'll get ready to start it up, let me put this air cleaner back on, and don't start it until I get clear from here. Once you've added the correct amount of oil, you're ready to start the car and check for leaks. By the way, make sure that you are in a well-ventilated area when you start the car. Watch the oil pressure gauge or light when the car starts. You should observe correct oil pressure within 10 seconds. If oil pressure does not build up or the oil light does not go off, stop the engine. Disconnect the spark and crank the engine until the oil light goes out. After starting the car, let it run and check the oil for leaks. Be careful around the fan blades and belts. Check the oil filter and drain plug for leaks. After the engine has idled for a couple of minutes, shut off the engine and recheck the dipstick. You should also record this change interval so you can schedule the next one. A door jamb sticker is an excellent way to keep track of oil changes.
Now that we've got the old oil drained out, what are we going to do with it? I hope we don't pour it down the drain.
You're right. Whatever you do, make sure you don't pour it down the drain. Septic tanks and sewer systems are not set up to handle used oil, and it can cause a lot of problems. Used motor oil contains combustion byproducts, and these byproducts can be very harmful or hazardous to the environment. What you want to do is to take the oil to a collection center, to a service station, or to a car dealer that handles used oil, and they can dispose of it properly.
Now that we've got the oil changed, how often should I check it?
Well, you should get into the habit of checking the oil every time you stop and fill up for gas. On today's smaller engines, maintaining the correct oil level is very important. To check your oil, park your car on level ground and turn the engine off. Pull out the dipstick, wipe it clean, and reinsert fully. Pull the dipstick out and check the level. Keep the oil above the add mark on the dipstick by adding oil as required. Do not add oil beyond the max mark. In an overfilled crankcase, the crankshaft can dip into the oil, causing excessive churning and aeration of the oil. Letting your engine oil run low can cause more problems than just lack of lubrication. On today's smaller engines, letting the oil run a quart low can remove up to 20% of the cooling capacity. If you let it run 2 quarts low, you can lose up to 40% of the cooling capacity. There's not any oil that's going to perform well under those conditions.
Now, does the color of the oil have any effect on when I should change it?
Yeah, when you look at the oil, it can tell you some things by its appearance. For instance, if you have a milky color on it, it's telling you that you have a water leak. If you smell gasoline or you smell that it's burnt, it's telling you that there are mechanical problems and that you'll probably be having to make some adjustments.
Now, what if I find that I have to add oil in between oil changes? Does that mean I have a major engine problem?
Well, not really. Most car manufacturers will tell you that all cars will burn a little bit of oil. They don't consider oil consumption excessive unless you burn over a quart every 400 or 500 miles.
Now, what do I do if I have excessive oil consumption?
Well, there's only 2 things that can really cause oil consumption in an engine. Either the engine is burning the oil or it's leaking out. Now, you can check these conditions to see if this is what's happening. For instance, if you have internal clearances in a car where the oil is leaking past the rings and getting into the combustion chamber and it's burning, you're going to see a cloud of blue smoke coming out of your tailpipe. A check you can make to see if the car is leaking oil is to put a large piece of cardboard under the car when you park for the evening. Black spots will indicate if you have a leak. You should correct leaks as soon as possible, as they can allow dirt to enter the engine.
Other than the engine, don't I have to service some other components?
Yes, both the transmission and the differential in the car have fluids that need to be serviced periodically. And changing the fluid in these components is good insurance to make sure that your car will run trouble-free. However, it's a little more difficult to change the transmission fluid and the differential, and we recommend that you take these to a specialist to have the work done. In any case, you should always follow the manufacturer's guidelines for the correct fluid, and if you do operate in severe service, you should have this work done more often.
Now, what type of fluid do I run in an automatic transmission?
Well, all of the manufacturers recommend different transmission fluids. When you're purchasing a transmission fluid, you should always check and make sure that the specifications that are listed are the same ones that are contained in your owner's manual.
Now, what happens if I lose this owner's manual?
Well, most manufacturers will be happy to give you a new owner's manual or to sell you one at a slight fee. You should stop by a dealer who sells your make of car and ask him to order one for you.
Now, can I improve the life of my engine by using oil additives?
Well, Pennzoil doesn't recommend that you use any additives in a fully formulated motor oil. An additive may be beneficial in a low-quality oil, but in a fully formulated, high-quality oil, there exists a balance in the additive chemistry. Some additives provide a maximum level protection at a certain concentration, and increasing that concentration can actually lower the performance. It's important to remember that there are several functions that a motor oil must perform. They must protect against rust, corrosion, wear, oxidation, and foaming, in addition to protecting against lubrication and cooling requirements. So the balance there is very critical, and we recommend that you don't put any additives in our oil.
I bet that's especially true with fuel-efficient oils.
Right. Fuel-efficient oils are a level higher in quality and in the additive levels. And fuel-efficient oils, you may not see much in one tank full of gas, but over the lifetime of your car, they will save you several dollars and several tanks of gas.
Well, that just about covers all the questions I have, but let me go over what you've covered just to summarize. First, we need to have a regular schedule of oil changes. They should be about every 3,000 miles, or according to the severe service chart in the owner's manual. Then, we need to use the proper grade of oil. Again, this is according to the chart in the owner's manual. When we did the change, the oil had to be warm. We raised the car and supported it on jack stands. We took off the filler cap. Then we took out the drain plug and let all the old oil drain out. We checked the drain plug for damaged threads, then put it in after all the old oil was out. We changed the filter. We'll do it every time we change the oil. We made sure the old gasket came off completely. We made sure the new filter was the one designed for our car. We checked the mounting base on the engine to be sure it was clean, and the gasket on the new filter too. We oiled the gasket with the fresh motor oil and installed the new filter carefully so as not to cross-thread it. We tightened it by hand until there was resistance, then tightened it one turn with a filter wrench. Then we put in the new oil, checking the level with the dipstick. We started the car, watched for the oil light to go out, and checked for leaks. We lubricated the throttle linkage and everything else under the hood that needed it. Finally, we'll remember to check the oil level every time we fill the gas tank.
So you see, it's not difficult. You can work on your own car, right in your own driveway or garage, and save a bundle. If you keep your car in better condition, it'll cost less to run and be worth more at trade-in time.